So low for one of our white sturgeon. Out of the three, this is the second loss. Rather sudden. He wasn't withering away, he was eating very well. I mean, at some point, maybe about 3-4 months ago, it was struggling a little bit, was too thin. But then it started eating much better, I started feeding much better. So it was doing quite well actually. Same as its brother over there, the one-eyed bob. So out of the three, the one that almost died initially, with one eye that was bobbing for a month, half out of the water, the front half out of the water. Ironically, that's the one that's still survived and doing okay. You see he's got a nice stomach, little bulge, which for a sturgeon it's a lot to ask for. But this guy got, it looked like he got sick 2 or 3 days ago, I would say, for sure, that I noticed. Maybe 2 days ago. His head got swollen and he stopped swimming and died overnight. Let's take him out and measure him and talk more about it. Okay, so we'll call it 10, 26, 16 inches. They came to us a little over a year ago at 12 inches or so. Maybe even 10 to 12, but anyhow, this is pretty slow growth. As I started saying, this fish died very differently from the previous one. Previous one withered away. This one got obviously some kind of infection, which it couldn't fight off. It's got redness on the body, some red mucus coming out of the anus. Perhaps it was too stressed. I mean, it survived the summer. The highest temperatures were 82 to 84 Fahrenheit, and it survived. So I'm at a loss why it died now, when the water is much more comfortable, in the mid-70s, if not less. That's about all I can tell you. It's a great pity. Well, at least my experiment still goes on. Can you keep white sturgeon and Acipensor transmontanus from Florida with just Mr. Bob remaining, our one and only guy left? He was the smallest of the three. As I said, he was pretty much gone, I thought. His head was poking out of water for a month. He couldn't go down. When I cooled the water down for them, I put him in at about 65 on a chiller. He was able to come down and start eating, and everything was fine. I was raising their temperature from 65 to the 80s over 8 months or so in a tub on a chiller, and then put him back here in this rectangular tank, which they hated first, but then they got used to it. We'll report as things progress. This hurts a lot because these are some of the biggest growing, the second biggest sturgeon species in the world. It takes forever, but it can reach 20 feet, 15 to 20 feet. Anyhow, that's that. Forgot to mention that about a month ago I dropped the water hardness way too low for the sake of the new coming gulper catfish, and the sturgeons hated it a lot. They started swimming, poking their head out of the water periodically as if trying to leave the water. They hated the water, so I Quickly changed it back and they come down, but of course it was stress. And also those gulpers brought in fish lice. So we're treating all the tanks with Dimilin X. It's a very mild medication, even though a peer wrote in the comments and on YouTube that red breast tilapia are sensitive to it. So there's usually some exceptions to every rule. But this guy seems okay. Bob eats well. Bob the bobber hasn't skipped a beat and doing pretty well. But of course, I mean, again, the sturgeon passing and the timing cannot be disregarded completely. I will never know, probably, without doing a lot more experimentation. But for now, this remains a tentative connection between the stress, the medicine, and the passing. Probably just I'm thinking just a right bacterium or a bug came along, to which the Tigrinus are still adjusting. They're new here. Tigrinus catfish. Just the right bug came along to which the sturgeon could not find an antibody in time because the immune system was weakened by the stress. Just go up like this guy did. What's wrong with you? Why are you fighting with the bigger catfish? Kind of silly. Anyhow, that's what I wanted to add to this story. Its passing also coincides, by the way, with the bringing of the jerk A tank into the system. Almost all these fish came from the wild, or a lot of them, I should say. Not the Viejo hybrids, but everybody else. Not everybody else. The purple label and the whatever, the tilapia. The tilapia and the Mayan cichlids came from the wild. So they, even though they were in sort of a quarantine for a year and a half or a year, I didn't treat them for anything internal. So they might have brought some bacteria with them into the system that the sturgeon could not handle. Maybe we'll lose the last one too, but we'll hope for the best and pray. But that's another coincidence I wanted to point out. So I'm just talking about possibilities of how the sturgeon could have gotten infected and not being able to handle it. To sum it up, the sources of new bacteria could have been the new fish we bought or rescued that were brought into the system, or it could be the old fish that got reshuffled into the system, like those from the jerk A tank, or it could be the fish lice, which have they bring their own bacterial and viral cultures with them and are known to infect fish. That's all. And the sources of stress are too warm of water for a long time, and also the dropped hardness of the greatly diminished hardness of water recently. So two major sources of stress, plus the rectangular tank, might be three for the sturgeons, and the 3-4 sources of dangerous pathogens. Between these two types of threats, I would say this is why the sturgeon died. I'm pretty sure one of these combinations covers it.